every goal, the sound declares. Heartbeats pound like a drummer's song, marching forward, fierce and strong. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. I'm Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. High through the rain, through the fire. This is my club, my only desire. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. I'm Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. High through the rain, through the fire. This is my club, my only desire.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to THFC Till We Die. I hope you guys are having an unbelievable evening amidst the news that Ange Postecoglou is officially done as head coach of our beloved Tottenham Hotspur. Before we get into it, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons, and of course, we're going to get to the chat in just 1 second, but before we do, my man Big James is in the house. James, was this the news that you wanted to hear, or is it a little bittersweet for you?
It's bittersweet. And I'm sad to see him go, but I think it's the right choice. I I'm going to read out a statement in a little bit from the club. I'm pretty sure everybody's read it, but I will read it out in a second. But when you look at Postecoglou's record, yes, he won us the Europa League, and nobody can ever take that away from him. But 78 points in 66 Premier League games is just unacceptable on any level. Right. So I think it was the right call to make. We've got to move the club forward. And we can't. It's like Dermot said many times. Are we heading for an Erik ten Hag situation? Well, we've avoided the Erik ten Hag situation. Yes, we've won a trophy, but we've still pulled the trigger and got we got rid of the manager. Just one thing I will say is, like, some of the comments already are bringing it up. Anthony Lynch says it here. Yep. He says, well, lads, that's why I said the best Tottenham channel broke the news. Sunday, stay friends with your mole. I had my doubts. Wow, outstanding. Yep. And again, he says, James, you were spot on, my man, about the sacking. Top man. Look, guys, I'm not here to gloat and say, I was right, I told you, but it kind of vindicates the channel. And when we say we've got the news, if it's a rumour, we will state it's a rumour. If it's something that is a fact and we know is happening, we will tell you and we will break it as breaking news, as a fact. On Sunday, and I believe it was Tuesday, we got a lot of grief over people coming into the comments and saying that we were clickbaiting, full of fake news, and it kind of got my back up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, kind of got my my back up a bit, but I feel vindicated. I know Dermo feels vindicated, and I'm pretty sure you'll feel vindicated for the channel as well, Steve. But we break the news.
Well, we were saying it last weekend. Coming into the weekend portion last week, we came on air and said it as a fact that Ange Postecoglou was heading for the door. Now, some reports had it. Now, outside reports had it that weekend. But that being said, I think we all understood that because Ange was on holiday, chances were very, very good this was going to happen as soon as he stepped back into the complex. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And of course, today, You went on air and broke it first. So kudos. It's not just this is a total team effort. When we break news, this is passed around. We all have our sources, and we pass it around. And if it's a green light, it's definitely going to happen. But that being said, let's go ahead and get into some of these comments real quick. And we're going to start right here to Hot God 10, who says, "Good evening, everyone, and come on, you Spurs. It's good to see you." We have Christopher Inshaw. Great evening. I hope you guys, I hope they make the right appointment. We're going to get into that as well. Gerard O'Connor says, "Trophies means nothing. It's all about the pound signs." Yeah, I would probably think so. We have Wayne Butter, who for the first time in I think this is THFC Till We Die history, he didn't open up his first statement by saying, "Good evening, everyone." I'm a little let down there, Wayne. But he says, "Levy has made us financially stable, but clueless prick is slowly murdering this club with sacking managers, shit transfer business. I think we happen to agree." He goes on to say, "Bollocks to Frank." We're going to get into that as well, too, because I think you and I both have opinions on Thomas Frank. Not even close to being an upgrade, and I would 100% agree with that as well, too. Arsenal won FK all under Lega Man, but is still in his job because, top four, as if that was some sort of trophy. Yeah, but consistency matters. And when Mikel Arteta is consistently finishing in the top three year after year after year, that means they're right there. They're right there. So that speaks volumes. Erwin says, "Hi, lads." And chat, hope you're doing well. Disappointing about Ange, but I don't think this Thomas Frank is the answer. 100% agree. Let's see. I hope the takeover is next. I hear Munn has sacked as well tonight. I think that has already happened. I think that actually happened in the season. He was persona non grata for the last couple of months anyway. All right. Listen, I got to say this because number one, I am a huge Ange Postecoglou fan. I respect the guy immensely. And when you look at his trophy haul and you look at the teams in which, outside of Celtic, obviously, when you look at the trophies won by some of these clubs are not even the best teams in their own leagues, and he was still manages to win trophies. Then I think his coup de grace was Celtic, going to Celtic, and then pulling off the double. And I don't care where you at, what league you're at, pulling off a double is one of the most hardest things. I think it's one of the hardest things to do in world football, Scottish Premier League or not. And that being said, I think there's a little vindication that he won a trophy in his second season with the Tottenham Hotspur. But that being said, James, I also will go ahead and say that I think this is the right move. Again, actions have consequences. And when this team got most of their players back from the injured list, the season was already lost. I think the season was lost in October. If you really want to get, be truthful about it, you can make a case that even back in October, the top four was not going to be an option. And if things settled and prior to the injury crisis, I think I was saying at the time, like if things settle and we can avoid catastrophe, maybe a top 10, but I think that was kind of pushing it anyways. But that being said, Ange Postecoglou makes the decision by putting all his eggs in the Europa League basket, essentially punting on the Premier League season. And it just so happens that Southampton, Ipswich, and Leicester were that worse that we avoided relegation. That has consequences. Europa League or not. On the one hand, you can praise Ange Postecoglou for delivering our first trophy in 18 years. You can definitely do that, and it's warranted. But also, there is also the risk of doing that. It put us in the position where we were still in the relegation talk with 6 weeks left in the season, and we needed Arsenal to bail us out against Ipswich for us to avoid that. That is also embarrassing as well too. So in this context, I think it's the absolute right move. I don't like the fact that we're chopping and changing again after 18 months. I don't like that. But that being said, I think this is possibly the best move that this club could do, knowing that this club is capable of winning trophies. Maybe a new leader is probably what's going to be right for this club. So in that context, I'm okay with this move.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like you at the opening of the show, you asked me what I felt of it. Was it bittersweet? Yes. I think it's. I'm again annoyed. We're in the summer where we should be hopefully settled and looking to bring in the players, and instead we're up in the air. We're searching for a new manager. Yes, there are links to Thomas Frank, Xavi, Glasner, Iriola, Marco Silva. The list goes on and on and on and on. I mean, the rumours have been circulating about this for weeks and weeks and weeks. Is he going to go? Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? I think the writing was on the wall when Ange Postecoglou, he said season 3 is better. And then he sort of held his statement a little bit when he said, but sometimes the main character gets killed off in season 3. I think he kind of knew there and then that his number was up. Just for you then, Steve, Wayne Bonner just said, and good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well and having a great day. Great Friday. I think tequila, maybe. Yeah, I think tequila is. He's been dancing, I think, for the last few hours since I broke the news on Postecoglou, but definitely been going. Hod God says, if it's Frank, he'll be happy on a shoestring budget for 7 seasons. Selling his best players and keeping Brentford in the Premier League is no mean feat. I agree. Absolutely, it's no mean feat, Hod God. I think he has done really well. But my opinion regarding Thomas Frank is that it's a sideward step in a managerial appointment. It's not taking the club. Yeah, it's not taking the club forward. Anthony Lynch says he thinks Frank is criminally underrated. Trust me, very, very good coach and man manager. I agree. He is a very, very good coach, but is he going to be a very, very good coach at a top team? And he's never managed in the Champions League before. So is he going to then? Is it going to then? Okay, we say we go for Frank and it all goes completely wrong, and then by Christmas we're still down near the bottom of the table. We're practically out of the Champions League, and then we're sacking him and then looking for another new manager. We've got to make sure this appointment is 100% done correctly. And if we want to attract big name players, we need a big name manager.
I would agree with that.
Gerard says, yeah, consistently winning nothing, you mean, Steve? I think he's on about the Arsenal. Erwin says season 3 is cancelled. It is.
Yeah, for sure.
Tequila says he's having a great Friday. Thanks very much, Wayne. And he also said, Ange made a rod for his own back. Sorry, but it is what it is. Yeah, it is. It is what it is. It's one of those. And Spurs side chat says I've just been told the new manager is all but confirmed. They just need to do the formalities. If it's that quick and the reports that I've been reading says that we've not even made contact. If we've not even made, that's what I was about to say, Steve. If it's going to be that quick and the reports that I've been reading today is yes, Thomas Frank was somebody we were interested in, but they'd not even made contact with Brentford regarding the position and any kind of compensation package and his release clause and things like that. We had not, we'd not done any of that. So if it's going to be that quick, Spurs side chat, that's got to be a free agent manager. And that to me is either Terzic, Xavi, or the ex-Juve Allegri. I couldn't think of his name. Yeah. So if it's that quick, that's what it says to me. That's a free agent coming in, and I'd be happy with any 3 of those. Any one of those 3, I'd be more than happy personally. Christopher Inshaw says, TalkSport, the 3 favourites to replace Ange Postecoglou as Tottenham manager, Thomas Frank, Marco Silva, Oliver Glasner. Those names have been touted around for since the end of the before the end of the season. And he says he'll message Dermo when he gets a name. Well, you can message Dermo. He's on holiday. He might reply. He might not.
Well, let's go ahead and get into it because I think you hit something right on the head. I happen to agree with you. And I think we need to dive into this because, number one, I do agree with you that Thomas Frank, number one, is a lateral move to Ange Postecoglou. Now, granted, I'm not going to say that he's a bad coach because I don't believe that either. But let's understand that he's never coached in a Champions League, and I don't think he's ever coached in the Europa League as well too. He has not had a solid cup run that he can hang his hat on, and then also understand what Brentford is. Right, Brentford, just like Brighton, has a scouting model that relies heavily on algorithms that determine risk, and they're able to identify players to bring through the door, which they have, and they've done a very good job of that. Right, but it also that works for coaches as well as players, and like Brighton, they are able to install a manager that plays the style of football that they want to play, regardless of who that manager is. And again, that's not a knock on them. But is anybody going to sit here and tell me that Thomas Frank had? Okay, now understand this: Thomas Frank loses Ivan Toney to the Saudi League before the start of this last season, and then you look at Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace, who loses Michael Elise before the start of the season as well too. And is anybody going to sit here and say that Thomas Frank had a better season with Brentford than Oliver Glasner had at Crystal Palace? Now I understand Palace finished a little below them. But when you look at the way Crystal Palace started the season, I think they didn't get a result in their first 8 or 9 matches. They got their first win against us. They were able to rebound and then go on an FA Cup win, an FA Cup run. I'll even make a case that case that did Thomas Frank had to have a better season with Brentford than Marco Silva had at Fulham. And when you look at Fulham, their roster is an island of misfit toys. And yet he was able to turn Anthony Robinson into a top 3 left back in this league. And he was able to resurrect the careers of Raul Jimenez and Emil Smith-Rowe as well, too, by actually getting the very best out of their wingers as well, too. And you saw at one point Fulham looked like they were potentially going to finish inside that top 8-ish before ultimately kind of stumbling down the finish line. But that being said, it's like I can make a case for those two before I actually make a case for Thomas Frank. And again, that's not because I don't like Thomas Frank. I think he's fine. But that being said, when you look at all 3 of these stacked up one by one, I actually see a little bit more positives in Oliver Glasner and Marco Silva than I do with Thomas Frank.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, look, it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, we can sit here and we can throw names around and everything until we know. What I have had is that sources expects new manager to be announced within the next week. So that's by this time next week, but it may come before. I think that it could be, I think by Monday. I think probably by Monday. I think we'll take the weekend, have a look, and have a look over the weekend, have some discussions. And there was a comment, and I was going to mention it. Let me just try and find it again. I can't find it. It was I think it was something along the lines of who makes the decision about the new manager. And basically, who makes the decision now is Vinay. Vinay is now the man making the decisions. He's now the man in charge of the football operations. Daniel Levy is now in charge of the business operations and not the football operations. That is what Vinay was brought in to do. Correct. And that is what I believe his decision. But quickly bouncing on...
But wouldn't you think that Paratici would be involved in those conversations, though?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Paratici will be involved in that because they're going to need to work closely together to understand then, okay, so if this is the manager that we're bringing in, what players do we need to bring in?
Which players to head out the door as well, too, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll quickly read this statement out and then we can move on. So it says, following review of performance, and this is from the official Tottenham website and the club, and it reads, following a review of performance and after significant reflection, the club can announce that Ange Postecoglou has been relieved of his duties. Ange joined us from Celtic in the summer of 2023 and oversaw a period of change on the pitch, returning us to the attacking brand of football that has traditionally been associated with the club, while writing a new chapter in our history by leading us to UEFA Europa League glory in Bilbao last month, an achievement that will live with us all forever. We are extremely grateful to Ange for his commitment and contribution during his 2 years at the club. Ange will always be remembered as only the third manager in our history to deliver a European trophy alongside legendary figures Bill Nicholson and Keith Birkinshaw. However, the board has unanimously, and I state that because this is what I think is the key word, the board has unanimously concluded that it is in the best interest of the club for a change to take place. Following a positive start to the 23-24 Premier League season, we have recorded 78 points from the last 66 Premier League games. This culminated in our worst Premier League finish last season. At times, there were extenuating circumstances with the injuries, and then a decision to prioritise our European campaign whilst winning the Europa League this season ranks as one of the club's greatest moments. We cannot base our decisions on emotions aligned to this triumph. It is crucial that we are able to compete on multiple fronts and believe a change of approach will give us the strongest chance for the coming season and beyond. This has been one of the toughest decisions we have had to make and is not a decision that we have taken lightly, nor one we have rushed to conclude. We have made what we believe is the right decision to give us the best chance of success going forward, not the easy decision. We have a talented young squad and Ange has given us a great platform to build upon. We should like to express our gratitude to him. We wish him well for the future. He will always be welcome back to our home. I mean, that statement screams at me. It screams volumes. The fact that it's a unanimous decision from the board, that they are aware that he basically jacked in the league and concentrated on the Europa League. And that's not good enough. The club want us to be challenging on all fronts. And that is something that us as fans want as well. We don't want to be a mediocre team in the league and just be a cup team. We don't even want that.
But I do have a problem with this. That number one, I agree with that decision. That's the first thing. I want to make this very clear that this is the reason why he's being sacked. It's because he elected to focus on the Europa League and let the league go by the wayside. And that has severe consequences. So let's put that to the side. But the other thing is, this isn't all on Ange Postecoglou. Okay, he's biting the bullet because that's always what ends up happening is the manager takes the fall for this. But I've been consistent by saying this was a total club failure because had Johan Lang, and this is the difference between Paratici and Johan Lang, had Johan Lang had a sense of creativity in his windows, he had 2 summer windows, 2 winter windows in order to get this right. Had he found some creativity in any of those windows, whether it's bringing experience in on loans or trying to maximize the windows that actually gave Ange Postecoglou the tools where he could compete on all 4 fronts, we're probably singing a different tune. It was Ange Postecoglou had to make do with the players that he had on his first team, and that was brightly highlighted during the season's injury crisis, where we had a lot of guys who had absolutely no experience at the Premier League level, trying to fit square pegs in a round hole, trying to get results, and it just was not good enough. And by the time everybody came back, the league was already awash. So he made that decision. All right, fair enough. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, fine. So Ange Postecoglou gets the sack. Okay, I'm sure everybody's happy. But that being said, we still have to talk about Johan Lang. We have to talk about the people that were directly responsible for the transfer strategy that ended up sinking Ange Postecoglou in the end.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, where is it? No, not that one. I've just seen it. Colin X says here, he says, big up Colin, welcome to the channel again. He says, has Lang left yet? Or has Lang left? I haven't heard he's officially left, but his position is deeply under threat as well as Scott Munn. I mean, we said it way back before the season even ended. It was believed that Lang and Scott Munn were actively sabotaging the transfers for Postecoglou, not getting him the players that he wanted, and that it was basically making his job harder in the January window. And I believe that those two will be out the door as well, because Paratici's coming back. He starts back on the 1st of July, and Gabbiadini's coming back as well as with Paratici. So I think they will basically step into Scott Munn and Joanne Lang's positions. My belief is that there is a lot going off still within the club. I think me and Dermo were talking about it. I think the takeover is closer than what we realise.
I agree with that too.
And I wouldn't be at all surprised if we are given takeover news by sort of mid-July. That this is going to be going through very quickly, and I think that this is the way the club's going. Gerard says Ange was the sacrificial lamb. I don't think he was a sacrificial lamb, Gerard. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think he basically threw himself onto his sword and he lived and died by it.
Yeah, I agree with that. He gave the board more than enough ammunition for the sack. You know what I mean? Like that to me is, in some context, Gerard, I think you have a point. But that being said, throughout the course, especially in the second half, he gave the board so much ammunition that a sack was very much warranted. I think Ange is probably responsible for his own sack.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Erwin asks, he says, if the takeover happens, where does Levy fit in? Is he gone? So the reports that we get in, Erwin, is that because there are two people that are interested in buying the club. And depending on which interested party actually pulls the trigger and buys the club, he would be with one. They want him gone. And the other one is that they basically want him to stay on, but have nothing to do with the football club. He is basically going to become like a business manager and have nothing.
Yeah, he's going to be the accountant that he is.
Yeah, and have nothing to do with the football club. The running of the football club or anything like that. Boris says it here. He says Levy will be on a contractual basis to help them understand the club, and I agree. I think that's. I think that's what we need from Levy. That's what he's good at, and that's what we need him to do. If he stays, that's what we need him to do. Look after the business side of things and the everything not around the clubs, the development of like around Tottenham Stadium, the hotels that are being built and things like that, the commercial side of things, not the actual running of the football club. So Gerard said, so what's the ambition for next season? Well, the ambition for next season, what that should be to me, Gerard, is we should be aiming for the top. Look, we've changed our manager. Yes, we've got to make additions to the starting 11. There are players out there that we could sign. We've got money available to sign these players. And I think we've got to be aiming at minimum top 4. We should be really looking at a good run in the Champions League. I would expect quarterfinals at the minimum. A good run in the FA Cup, semi-final finalists. Carabao Cup, quarterfinals, semi-finals, but a top 4 in the Premier League and challenging for the league, I think it's well within his grasp. I think it's well within our reach, and it should be something that we're aiming for. If we are going to be ambitious, that's the minimum.
Yeah, the interesting thing though, and I think Drew Zilla, what's up, Drew? You're my guy. You're my guy, Blue. He kind of says it kind of sounds backward to me. If there's two people or two clubs, two groups potentially buying the club, they'll have their own ideas of who should manage. How is the manager being hired first before the takeover? Big up. Good question.
Good question. It's a very good question. It is a very good question, and I'm pretty sure that when the takeover is announced, then they will probably look at changing the whole way the club is run and what it means to the club. They will probably want their own manager in, but
correct.
If they get a big name manager in, so with the likes of Xavi, I'm just using his name as an example because he's a big name manager. If we get someone like Xavi, then they may be interested in keeping him on. And I suppose it all depends on how well it goes as well. There's so many different possibilities that are out there for us at the moment, and probabilities and equations that could happen, what might happen in this situation and that situation. And look, I don't have all the answers. I don't. I wish I did. And James, I don't have a crystal ball either.
I do have a few questions to you about concerning a takeover, but I will say that the importance of having a new manager through the door right away is pretty significant, right? Because there are still players tied to Ange Postecoglou and whether or not he was going to stay or whether he was going to go, i.e. Rodrigo Betancourt, Christian Romero, two players that I think need to stick around for at least one, if not four more seasons. But that being said, for the name of stability within the ranks of this first team, having that manager through the door within, like me personally, I want to see it within the next 48 hours because certain conversations have to be had, right?
Yeah.
There has the messaging has to be right. But also from a standpoint of continuity, consider the fact that this team did essentially, I hate to use this term, but they did walk through the fire and came out with a trophy at the end. And so for me, one of the biggest letdowns is whether or not that was going to carry over with Ange to the next season. But from a player standpoint, that's probably still going to be there. But for those players that were kind of on the fence regarding Ange Postecoglou, now you have a new manager, that has to get situated immediately, not in a week, like within the next 48 hours.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I think Monday at the very latest we should have a new manager in place. I would like to see it done tomorrow. I would like to wake up tomorrow morning and it be announced tomorrow that we've hired somebody. That would be or within a few hours it comes out that we've announced somebody. That would be the perfect thing to do. With regards to Invert Viting says he thinks it'll be announced tomorrow. Boris says he thinks that I can bet the squad was consulted on the situation and asked if they truly believe if Ange can take them further. I think they probably were. And you don't think they were?
No. Because you know what's interesting about it is I think the board is going to make that decision on what's best for the club. That being said, because you know what, there have been multiple instances that I can pull out where the players were consulted, resulting in a manager staying and the results not improving, right? Because there was reasons why they wanted a manager to stick around. I think I think the best clubs are going to make that decision without consulting the players. And if some players want to stay, fantastic. If some want to go, they'll figure out who's going to be out the door. I think it would almost be a little bit of a bit of a detriment to have that to have your players have a say in it. It's not like we have Messi or anything like that, where you have those type of upper echelon players where it actually somewhat matters. But that being said, my question to you regarding any potential takeover is, aren't there Premier League rules regarding purchasing a club where there's only a certain amount of shares that a potential buyer can only invest in the interim before they could actually buy the majority stake? Isn't there, especially if you're talking about an ownership group that already has clubs underneath their umbrella? For instance, I'll just put this out there, right? Like 8 months ago, there was talk about the Qatari group that owns PSG, right? That they would literally have to sell PSG before they can make an initial investment. And if they did, it was only going to be like up to 20% for the first year. But by the end of year 3, they can actually have a controlling stake, and that's just how the Premier League rules are set up. But that being said, multi-club ownership is the new norm in some circles, and it was under my my knowledge of the situation is that there is only a certain amount of shares that they can upfront purchase.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So it depends. Again, it depends on how it's going to be structured, how it's going to be put together. If this is a consortium of somebody who already owns a football club or has part ownership in the football clubs, then yes, that then comes into effect of you can only invest so much, and it has to be done in stages. If this is somebody who has no ties to the footballing world, and they just coming in fresh off the street, so to speak, and saying, right, okay, I've got all this money, I'm going to throw it into a football club, I'm going to buy Tottenham, then those rules don't kick in because there's no multi-club ownership. So you can then can do a full takeover with full investment. So again, that's, and like Boris says, that's why Palace can be kicked out of Europa League due to one of their owners owning. Sorry, I'll put it on screen. Sorry, my bad. Owning a 43% stake into another club in the Europa League, because you can't. Because it then becomes a conflict of interest, so to speak. And with regards to the players, let's. It's like what do we expect from the players? I agree. I think the Romero is probably your biggest risk. Bentancur's got about, I think he's got another 3 years on his contract. Well, 2 years on his contract, but he's already been tipped to sign a new contract, and there has been contract talks ongoing with Bentancur. So I'm not so much concerned about Bentancur. I would say my biggest concern is Romero, and I would probably say Kulusevski as well as a concern.
Now, are you saying that just because of the injury situation with Romero, considering that he's now had two consecutive seasons where he's missed a substantial amount of time? But that being said, though, I mean, when we were looking down the barrel of Europa League, and both Van de Ven and Romero were in form and playing their best football, there's a case to be made that the reason why we even won the Europa League was because of those two playing their best football at the right time, right? So I understand from an injury situation where, considering now it's been 2 straight seasons where Romero has missed some time. But that being said, though, would you not agree that if all things were equal, and they were playing in a system that's a little bit better designed for them, like as we saw down the stretch, that both Romero and Van de Ven are probably one of the top 3 center back pairings in the league?
Yeah, I think that Romero and Van de Ven have got the ability to form, and they have done. You saw it in the Europa League, probably one of the strongest centre-back pairings. I think what kind of undid us a lot of the way was the the gung ho style of constantly attacking, constantly sort of making sort of Van de Ven go at full tilt every game. Of course, you're going to pick up injuries when you're playing at the very edge of your capabilities for 90 minutes every game. You're gonna pick up knocks and you're gonna pick up injuries. And big up Sean. He says Romero got it across the line. We want him. We want him if he will stay. Now, me and Dermo were talking about this on Tuesday. I think the whole Romero to Atletico Madrid has been massively blown out of proportion.
I agree.
Because when I looked back on the actual comment and did some digging and found the actual initial comment that Romero said. And what he actually said was, one day I would like to play in La Liga. He didn't say, I want to play in La Liga right now. He said, one day I would like to play in La Liga. And then it came out that Atletico Madrid had agreed personal terms with him. But then a few weeks later, it came out that Romero's phone has been lighting up with phone calls from Diego Simeone. Now, if you've agreed personal terms with somebody, and then all of a sudden it's saying that Diego Simeone is constantly contacting him, why would Diego Simeone need to be constantly contacting him if they've already agreed personal terms? That's club to club stuff. That is Atletico Madrid then have to talk to Tottenham and arrange a fee.
And I think it's also tampering as well too if a coach is talking to another team's player.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only reports regarding the Atletico Madrid interest in Romero and all this is agreed personal terms. He wants to leave. He wants to leave. If you actually look at the publication where it's coming from, it's all coming from the Spanish publication, and that's that Marca. That's where it comes from.
Right.
It all comes from them. So if this was true, there'd be more than one. To me, there'd be more reports from different sources. Would be coming out. And I agree, Boris. If Atletico Madrid truly wanted him, they would pay the 70 million plus we are wanting for him. As they paid 90 million for their main target, Julian Alvarez. I agree. I 100% agree, Boris. 100% agree. And Sean.
And I agree with that, right? And I think if you're looking at from a standpoint of PSR, La Liga has the strictest PSR thresholds in Europe right now.
Yeah.
Which means that if Atletico Madrid were to get him, they would have to move pieces in order to get that done, which is going to take an ample amount of time. In the same time that we're actually working to re-sign him. That's just the first thing. But when it comes down to it, I personally do not think that they're able to afford him as is without moving some type of pieces. I just don't think. I think the timing is all wrong right now for Atletico Madrid. As do I believe that Real Madrid can't afford him either. I don't think either Madrid team or Barcelona can afford him without moving serious pieces.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I don't think. I think Real Madrid can't. I don't think there's many clubs out there because I always say, you look at Virgil van Dijk when he left. Where did he go from? I forget where Liverpool signed him from now. When Liverpool signed Van Dijk, he became the most expensive centre-back signing in the Premier League. I think Romero is a far better centre-back than Van Dijk is. I think he's a rock. I think he's got better pace. I think he's just an all-in-all beast of a defender is Romero. And I don't think... Van Dijk was a quality centre-back, and I'm never... Thanks, Boris, for signing him from Southampton. I just think that we could easily push north of 90 million for Romero.
Without
I
a
think
doubt.
I think 70 million is cheap for someone of Romero's quality. And the fact that he's not even in his prime yet.
That's exactly right.
He's still going to get better. And I think
Exactly right.
that the right manager with the right defensive setup, like the right defensive tactic, would basically improve our defense leaps and bounds. Because I think the quality is there. It was just that the tactics was wrong. Yeah, Boris is exactly right. Everyone seems to forget that Maguire United paid £80 million, not euros,
Yep.
pounds. I mean, and you're telling me that Harry Maguire is better than Christian Romero? Not on this planet. Cristiano Romero schooled him in the Europa League. Maguire lost his head in that game because of Romero, and Romero was just laughing.
Gerard O'Connor is asking, so next season a top 8 finish and play in the Conference Cup would be considered progress. With a Conference League finish, probably not. But that being said, the idea is to compete on all 4 fronts, right? So again, I think James was saying his ambition for the club is a top 4 finish, and at least a semifinal appearance in both the domestic cups, and then also getting at least past the round of 16 in the Champions League would be considered good success, right? So you want some stability and you want some consistency, and so that is getting back to the Poch days at the very least of being a top 4 team. That would certainly consider it a good start for this upcoming change in regime. But there was another question that needed to be asked, and I think it came from G Giant 68. Who do you want as your next coach manager, and who do you think we'll get? We'll start with you, Big James.
Who do I want? There's only one manager I've wanted since his name started getting floated around, and the fact that he was actually interested in the job, and that's Xavi for me. He's the only one I want. Who do I think we'll get? Oh, that is a very good question and a very tough one to try and answer. Because, I mean, for Thomas Frank, there's no smoke without fire. So I would probably say we're more than likely probably get Thomas Frank, but I would find it a very, very underwhelming appointment. I mean, he could take Spurs to the next level. I could be proven wrong. And I hope to God if we get him, I'm proven wrong. And I will sit and eat humble pie on every stream that we do and say, I got it wrong. But I just don't see it. There's something in my gut that tells me he would be the wrong appointment for us. So I think that's who we would get, but who I would like, I would love Xavi. I think he would really kick us on. So go on, Steve. Same question to you. Who do you want? And
who do I want? Like in my best case scenario, I want Jurgen Klopp. And when you look at what Jurgen Klopp did at Borussia Dortmund, stabilized them and then took them to the title. Goes to Liverpool, stabilizes them, and then takes them to a Champions League, right? So Jurgen Klopp has a history of stabilizing clubs and getting the very best out of them. And if you want a coach who can potentially be a curse killer, Jurgen Klopp is the kind of guy that you want to back the Brinks truck up to and just pay him whatever he wants to come out of hiding with the Red Bull organization. But that being said, if Jurgen Klopp says no, which is probably more likely than not, then I would love to have Xavi. I think Xavi is probably the best coach on the market that's available for Tottenham Hotspur. A guy who wants to be here and understands exactly the expectations of the club and just exactly what is going to be needed to done in order to really turn the ship around. But that being said, who will most likely be? It's probably going to be one of 3. It's probably going to be Frank, Glasner, or Silva. I can possibly see that happening just because they're the cheaper alternative, really, when it comes to wages versus a dude like Xavi. And again, I don't, of the three, Oliver Glasner is the best of all three. I think what he's done at Crystal Palace has to be, cannot be ignored. But yeah, Steve, your new manager is Ten Hag. Yeah. Notice I didn't say Eric Ten Hag in it at all, but that's all right though. Let's see. Gerard O'Connor says, "Right, boys, are we going to finish ahead of Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle? How are we going to get top four? Even Villa are light years ahead of us."
I wouldn't say Villa are light years ahead of us. I just think we've. This is going to sound a bit weird, but so last year, I think, was a fluke year for Ange, and this year proved what we were, and what sort of our weaknesses were. I can see us pushing Chelsea. I can see us pushing Chelsea. I can definitely see us pushing Newcastle. I could pretty much tell you what my top four next season would be if someone were to push me on it. I would probably say Man City will bounce back, Liverpool in second, Arsenal third, Spurs fourth, Chelsea fifth, Newcastle sixth, Aston Villa seventh. In fact, I'm willing to. I will write that down. I will put it in an envelope and I'll seal it up and say my Premier League predictions for next season, and I'll see how close I am to being right.
I'm not at that stage yet where I'm going to start predicting the top five, top six, anything like that. But I will say that how we're going to get up to the into the top five, so to speak, is we actually have to have a rock solid transfer strategy in place right now. I would have right now. I think there's like a mini open window right now, and I would love to see a move coming in that shows some sort of ambition, whether it be a free or whether it be a high level youth player. In the likes of a Bergvall or an Archie Gray, something like that shows some sort of ambition. But that being said, it has, in order for this to happen, in order for us to, clean up our squad, because it's not, there are some holes in our starting 11, but for the most part, the issue is with the squad rotation. It was absolutely piss poor. And one of the things that has to be corrected is our transfer strategy, the experience that we bring in around some of these youth players. It has to be spot on. So in order for us to actually achieve this, that plan has to be in place, and we have to hit the ground running ASAP. I would love this again. I'd love to see somebody coming through the window during the small window before it closes, before Paratici shows up. But regardless, we have to hit the ground running in order for us to achieve that. Without it, if we're going to be running in circles, the Johan Lang style, then we're not going to even sniff the top five, let alone the top 10. Drew Zilla will say the elite don't compete on four fronts. Quads are generational. A double is pretty rare. We're risking running before we can walk. This season should be a wake-up call. Consolidation is key. Top five. Amen.
Yeah,
amen.
I mean, amen. Yeah. I mean, that could be very thingy. I'm not saying we're going to do a quad. I'm not thinking, but I think we need to be pushing to be competitive in all competitions. So Tequila asks, he says, James, he says, I've got to ask, if you take your Spurs hat off, why on earth do you have us finishing fourth? And he says, I need to know the honest rationale behind it. So I look at our starting 11, Tequila, just for you, my man. I look at our starting 11, and our best starting 11, injury-free, no problems. We are 3 players away from being top quality. We need a new striker. I love Sonny, don't get me wrong, but we need a new winger, and we need a a new DM, a new defensive midfielder, to take over Bissouma, take Sonny's position, and take Dom's. And then that way you've got Dom who can rotate in, you've got Sonny who can rotate in, and if you get rid of Bissouma and you bring in somebody like Angel Gomez, which doesn't look likely because it does look like he's going to Marseille, and I think if we could find somebody who can fit that bill, who can play alongside Bentancur and Bergval, I think why not? Yeah, Boris, that is a good shout, Paulinho. I think that's a brilliant shout.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. Just a little bit one on you. When I look at the starting 11, I think our back five is one of the best in the Premier League if it stays intact with Vicario and net, Mikey Van de Ven and Christian Romero right in front of them. A continuing developing Udogi and with Spence playing behind either one of him or Pedro Porro. I don't like literally that's a back five that's capable of winning you a trophy. The other thing that I will say is that I do agree with you. We desperately need another striker to challenge for playing time with Solanke, but we actually need two wingers, one on each side, because I do agree with you. Sonny's best days are probably over, and we're the best way to get the best out of him is maybe having him being the first off the bench. But we also need somebody on the right side as well too to challenge Brendan Johnson so he can get the very best. Because I still believe that his development is plateaued because there is a lack of consistent challenging behind him to light a fire in his ass, and that's exactly what he needs right now. But I would also go to say that if we can get another 10 to play with James Maddison, and I know that the name Eberiche Eze keeps coming up. Having James Maddison play next to Eberiche Eze in the attack would just be unbelievably just phenomenal. And when I look at the six, it's like I do agree with you. I'd love to have a new six. But that being said, in a double pivot with Betancourt, having a double pivot of Betancourt and Bergval or Betancourt and Gray, having Gray in that rotation with Bergval, I still think that's probably good enough.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I mean, like I say, I'm getting crucified in chat tonight, Mike. Some of my comments. Look, I respect everybody's.
Sure.
I respect everybody. Everybody's opinion. Chamu Van de Vu says fourth. That's the funniest thing I've heard today. And he says, "Let me guess, Gibraltar will qualify for next World Cup as well." Hey, stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened.
Sean Maddox said, "Sign in Bemo before United, and we are all happy." I would love to sign in Bemo.
I would, and it did. Someone did say down here is that if we got Thomas Frank in, he might be able to convince Mbeumo to come to us. He might. But Jazz Fusion says it here. He says he wants United. I hear. I think he does want to go to United. I just don't think United can afford him.
Correct.
Erwin says by Eze for feck's sake. I agree. I think he should be probably one of our number one targets. Pull the trigger, spend the money. That's what we've got to do. That is what we need to do this summer. We need to pull the trigger on players. Not let's leave it. Something better might come along. Or let's try and negotiate instead of paying 80 million. Let's see if we can get it for 70 million. No, pay the 80. Pay the 80. Get the deal done. That is why big clubs and the like your Man Cities, your Liverpools are consistently challenging for the title is because when it comes to signing players, they pay the money. They don't dilly-dally. There may be some negotiation, but a little bit of negotiation, but they pull the trigger very quickly. Look how quickly Liverpool have snapped up Jerome Frimpong. There's now talk of 115 million £115 million bid for Florian Wirtz. You put Frimpong, Florian Wirtz into that Liverpool team, they're dominating.
Correct.
They're dominating. And so that is what Spurs need to do. I agree. I completely agree with Sean Maddox. We need to get statement signings.
To show this club is serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to show ambition, 100%. And that's going to be the crux of the problem, because you just got rid of a coach that won your first trophy. And so what message does that send to any potential manager when it comes to ambition and exactly what the goal of this club is? But that being said, I can also admit that a lot of this was tied to his league performance. But James, we're at the hour mark, and before we close it up, and again, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody who were stopping in our chat today. Everybody that was tuning in, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons, as we are in a race for 5,000 here on THFC Till We Die, as we are gearing up for the 2025-2026 season. Let's go ahead and put a bow on this on Ange Postecoglou. And the question I actually have for you, my guy, is: in the 2 years in charge, how would you sum this up? Do you consider his tenure a success? Was it a success but failure? How would you sum up Ange Postecoglou's tenure as Tottenham Hotspur head coach?
I think you said it for me. A successful failure.
Yeah.
I think that is probably the best way to describe it. A successful failure. He was successful in the Europa League. He won as a trophy, but he failed in every other department. He got certain fans' backs up. He turned on the fans. The Man City game where the Spurs fans were cheering when Man City won to stop Arsenal winning the league, he didn't like that. I can understand. No one likes to lose, but Arsenal are our biggest rivals, and we hate them with such a passion that, of course, we're going to be happy that they've not won the Premier League. Who wants to see Arsenal win the Premier League? Nobody, other than Arsenal fans. So yeah, I think the way to word it is a successful failure. That's how I would describe it. And I genuinely wish him all the best, and I 100% believe that wherever he goes, he will land on his feet.
Sure.
He'll land on his feet. He will walk into another job, and I think he'll be a success wherever he goes. And I hope that it isn't what happened here doesn't. I don't think it'll blemish his reputation.
No,
I just think it's just one of those things. It is what it is.
Yeah. Colin, you're funny, man. Colin was funny. Celebrating getting beat just because your rivals can't win a league is a weird mentality to me. This is what I will say, man. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to Ange Postecoglou for his service to our club. I know that he took a lot of stick, but that being said, he followed through with what he said, that he always wins something in his second year, 100%. So from that standpoint, I definitely want to thank Ange Postecoglou for his tenure here. But yes, I think it does go down as a successful failure, meaning that in his first season, he got fifth and a Europa League berth. And his second year, he won the Europa League and got Champions League berth. But that being said, through the course of his tenure, he dealt with multiple injury crises, and he is also responsible for a 22-loss season that ultimately was his undoing. But that being said, when we talk about revisionist history, though, in 20 years, we're not going to be talking about the 22 losses. We're going to be talking about the Europa League trophy.
Yeah,
and that is all due to Ange Postecoglou and his ability to understand exactly which way the wind was blowing. So from that standpoint, there's a lot of gratitude that I have because I actually got to witness this club lift a European trophy, which I didn't think was going to happen, to be honest with you. So from that standpoint, for the most part, I would say that in some context it was completely successful. But that being said, it was also this season was a massive club failure.
Yeah, I agree. Just want to say big up Dermo. Thanks for joining us tonight. He says, big up guys, sad to see Ange go, but again, as always, THFC till we die, break the news before the big guys. We are your home of all Tottenham Hotspur breaking news. Dermatron out. Yeah, what I find very funny as well, Steve, is regards to that, because I know why Dermot's put that on. Like I said at the start of the show, is we were getting some pretty horrible comments in over the last thing you're saying, but we were clickbait and this, that, and the other. And we've indicated on that we are breaking the news before the big guys. We were the first YouTube channel to break the news that Ange was sacked, and that was 5 days ago. So if you want to find out your news 5 days late, stick with Sky Sports and everything like that. If you want your news fresh off the press that's accurate and true, it might not be being advertised by mainstream media, but we won't tell you it if it's not true. Big up Dermo.
And just remember, THFC was the channel that broke the Harry Kane transfer news before it hit the wire. We broke Ange Postecoglou being hired before it broke the wire. We were the first to say that Ange was getting sacked, but we also were the first that also broke the news that Arne Slot was going to Liverpool. So there are multiple instances where THFC till we die has broken quite a bit of news. And I think James sent it up. If you want to get your news 5 days late, we're more than willing to let you do that because of reputation. But that being said, we get it right before more often than we get it wrong. Yeah,
I can't think of any time that we've got it wrong. And I even said, if I'm wrong, I'll hold my hands up and I'll admit I'm wrong.
Sure,
I will tell you I'm wrong. But I would not have been so vehement in my conviction that Ange was gone. And the thing is that we did, Steve, is Dermo got the news literally 2 seconds later. Dermo has a source. I have a source. These people are not the same source, guys. These are two different people that we get our sources from. So Dermo got it from his source. And then literally, as we were speaking live on air, my phone lit up and I'm looking down and I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. And I got the exact same information at the exact same time as Dermo did. So, look, we could kind of corroborated it with each other without actually corroborating it with anybody else.
Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is when you got a hold of me, it's funny because my friend who happens to be an agent also was saying the exact same thing as both of your guys' sources as well too. So it is what it is. But before we go, I do have to let it be known that tomorrow at noon, 7 o'clock Eastern in the morning, noon for the UK audience, it is on Stateside Footy and here on THFC TWD. It is the first annual Spursy Awards as I hand out my awards for the best and worst of the 2024-2025 season. So definitely check that out. There's multiple ways that you're going to be able to watch it. It's going to be an absolute blast as we hand out the Spursiest of Spursy Awards tomorrow. So that will be an absolute blast. There is going to be no MLS live stream this week because the schedule is absolutely wonky. And a lot of it has to do with the LAFC Club America match that threw the entire schedule for a loop. So there is going to be no MLS live stream this week, but we will be back next week. Tomorrow here, I believe at 8 o'clock, 3 o'clock Eastern, we will be back with Newsbeat again. And hopefully we will return with the name of who the next Tottenham Hotspur manager will be. And I'm hoping that name will manifest within the next 24 hours. because I would love to come on air and let you guys know. Me and James would love to be the ones to tell you who is going to be leading this team. James, before we go, my friend, any last words?
Not really. It's a sad day, but it's a new chapter. It's sad that we've lost Ange, but it's a new chapter. It's onwards and upwards. It's on to the next level. It's come on, you Spurs. That's all it is, and that's all it'll ever be. I will die for this club, and I just can't wait to see what the future holds, because the future's bright. The future's not Ange Tequila.
Yeah, I will say that the future definitely is bright, and the future is always lily white. I think that is the theme. I will say again that I want to thank Ange Postecoglou. He did the best with the tools that he had at his disposal. A broken medical department that was never able to help him get his players back. There was people in his front office that was leaking information, despite his despite him not wanting the certain things made public, and he had to fight against a lot of things that were literally working against him. And I think that he did the very best job that he possibly could do, all things considered. And from that standpoint, I will always recognize Ange Postecoglou as the manager to deliver our first European trophy in 41 years.
Absolutely. Anyway, Steve, before we sign off, where can people find you?
Well, I'm right here. No, I'm just playing. You guys can find me on Twitter at Stateside Footy, and of course, head over to the YouTube channel Stateside Footy, and make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. And by the way, again, tomorrow we have the first annual Spursy Awards, and I'm looking forward to it. Dave Harris from the Irish Hotspur will be on that show. Drew Zilla will be on that show. And so we are having ourselves an absolute ball tomorrow morning as we have the most valuable player and the least valuable player award. So that should actually be incredibly fun. And I'm just curious to see exactly how this one pans out, and just exactly how other YouTubers, they themselves, are going to have this one. And the link, by the way, is right there, I believe, in the chat. So definitely head on over there and hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow morning. But that's how you can find me.
Superb. And guys, if you want to follow me on X, you can do THFC James. Please jump along, ask me anything you want. I'm always available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But if you wake me up, I might be grumpy.
Yeah, dude, we share the same wonky work schedule, so
yeah,
it is what it is. So, all right, guys, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank everybody that was there in the chat. Erwin, thanks for stopping by. Shawnee Maddox is always cool. Love seeing Shawnee Maddox, Gerard O'Connor, Tequila 316, Wayne Bonner. We have David, what's his name? Golly.
David Clark.
There you go. David Clark, Jazz Fusion. Actually, you know what? Call him for stopping by. Dermatron for stopping by. I know you're on holiday, dude. So thanks for stopping by. I thought you would probably just, enjoy the holiday. But it is what it is. Again, thanks for all those for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow at the same time frame, and hopefully we have even better news. Again, James, thank you again.
No worries, my man. I will see you tomorrow.
All right, guys. Have a great Friday evening, and enjoy the weekend.